Hi baby, I'm Rachelocoolmua. I'm a pro makeup artist, and today we're going to be talking about something fun. My essential eyeshadow brushes and how to use them. If you are just starting your makeup journey, you're gonna need some brushes. Brushes are essential for eyeshadow, eyeliner, your face, whatever. I can definitely understand when you are just starting your makeup journey being very lost in the brush world. There are so many different types of brushes, there are so many different brush sets, and it can be very, very confusing on what do I use for what? So that's what we are going to be going through today. This is by no means every eyeshadow brush in the book. These are just my essentials that I need in my kit, in my pro kit, in my personal kit. I use these brushes every single time I do eyeshadow. This is how many eyeshadow brushes I have. You do not need that many. Oh my gosh, you do not need that many. Buying brushes, at least for me, is an addiction. I look at makeup from a very artsy-fartsy kind of standpoint. I love to paint. I love brushes. So brushes are very important to me in my process, so I have a lot of them. Grow your collection slowly. Build as you go. Don't go out and buy a million at once because you're going to end up not using half of them. Check in with yourself. What kind of makeup are you doing most often? And start building your brush kit like that. I'm going to be doing a video on face brushes, but this video is just dedicated to eye brushes. I'm going to be going through them with you as I put them on my face so you get a little demo going for you. If you are new to the Cool channel, I would love it if you subscribed. Come on, stay a while. We love having you here. I am a channel that focuses on inclusivity. I want everybody to be able to join in on the fun. Nobody's getting left out here. Using makeup to balance and enhance as opposed to correct and cover up. We are a community that focuses on embracing who you are and enhancing yourself with makeup. And above all else, this is a channel of fun and positivity. So if that sounds like you, consider subscribing. I'd love it if you stayed. Let's have fun. And if you'd like, you can follow me on my TikTok and my Instagram. My TikTok is full of fun little mini tips, product reviews, stuff like that. My Instagram is my artistic outlet for my pictures of me. And my YouTube is... What is my YouTube? I don't know. Fun place to be. Let's say that. So without further ado, let's get into my essential eyeshadow brushes. Let's go. Let's talk about types of brushes. There are natural hair brushes and synthetic brushes. This is a natural hair brush, synthetic brush. You can tell this is synthetic because it's two-toned. I personally am a die-hard synthetic brush fan. I personally love the versatility and feel and price of a synthetic brush. Now let's get into density. A brush like this is what in the biz we call a fluffy brush. Very scientific term. They only teach you this in school. It's fluffy. The bristles are far away from each other, like Peter Cottontail. A brush that is fluffy is going to deposit a more sheer color in a more general area. It's great for shading and blending. You can cover more surface area and get a more diffused end result with a fluffy brush. These are dense brushes. You can see they're mostly flat. Dense brushes are amazing to create a really opaque end result. The bristles are closer together, so it's going to make the color more vibrant and loud, I guess is a word I would use. This is great for packing on color, doing eyeliner, creating precise lines. I love going in with a dense brush to map it out and then a fluffy brush to blend it out. And my whole process is just basically switching between dense, fluffy, dense, fluffy, dense, fluffy until I get my end result. Okay, we're just going to be running through some of my favorite brushes as I do my eyeshadow. I'm going to do, I call it my look of romance because it's romantic. What do you want me to say? I'm using the Smoke and Roses palette from ColourPop. On my skin tone, these shades are really, really pretty. They give off a really romantic look, so I'm going to be using that. The brush I always start out with is this one. This is what I like to call a cat paw brush. Here it is in relation to like a standard crease blending brush just for size comparison. I love taking a brush like this into a skin tone-ish shade, or the shade closest to my skin tone for the look I'm going for. This is the perfect brush to pack on a lot of color in a big area. So for something like setting concealer or primer on your lids or getting a base color on the lid, this brush is absolutely perfect. And basically how I use it is I just kind of go like this, like little swipes or little packing motions like this. I find that that works best with this brush. You can swipe it, but it basically deposits a lot of color in a big area. Imagine starting a more pinky romantic look with this shade as opposed to this. It just gets a nice base going for you. I use this as my first step to every eyeshadow look. Shadow sits better on shadow as opposed to natural skin or oils or whatever. It makes blending easier. It helps prevent oils on your eyelid from messing up your makeup. And it really is just an essential part of every eyeshadow look that I do. So this is my brush. I love it. Mwah. My next essential brush. If you have watched any of my tutorials, you've heard me talk about it. This is the fluffy angled brush. Pretty much every brand that has an eyeshadow brush is going to have a fluffy angled brush because it is absolutely essential. So I like to dip this into whatever shade I'm going to be using in my crease. And basically my favorite way to do this is to do that eye trick where you put the shadow stick in the nape of your nose, connect to your lower lash line. I like to go at this angle. Whatever eye shape you have, I have a tutorial for what angle you should be going at, so check that out. And I like to basically use this to stamp. So to make things really easy on myself, I like to so I stamp, drag, stamp, drag. The thing about an angled brush, you're going to want to move in the direction opposite of the highest point of the brush. So if the angled brush is this way, the highest point is right here, I'm going to move my brush this way. If my brush is this way, I'm only going to want to go this way. You don't want to have your angled brush be like this and you go like that because it's going to create, this part is going to run into this part. It's going to create a weird effect, trust. You also never want to go back and forth with an angled brush. I learned this from Robert Welch. I know a lot of you come from Robert Welch. I learned this from him. You never want to go back and forth with an angled brush because it's going to create skips. Because imagine you're taking it and you're going one way, perfect, then you go this way. Now it's running into each other, it's creating a skip, and then when you end it, it flicks a bunch of powder. So never take an angled brush back and forth. I like to stamp and sweep with an angled brush. So once I stamp this line here, then I like to tilt my head back, find the hollow of my eye. All right, I'm going to be moving this way, so the highest point of my brush is going to be the opposite. And I stamp and sweep it in. It's like teaching a toddler how to pet an animal nicely. Very nice, very nice. An angled brush is a great way to create a blueprint of your makeup before you blend. To me, it's absolutely essential for hooded eyes because of the stamping effect. When you have your lid, I'm just going to do this for the effect of hooded eyes. I am not trying to pretend I have hooded eyes. So if my eyes are hooded like this, and you want to create a straight line, it is really, really helpful to have an angled brush to stamp a straight line over this line, over the hood, over the lid, over any crease. It is super helpful. If I try to do that with a brush like this and I'm going like this, now I'm lifting skin, I'm getting shadow where I don't want it. So I think an angled brush is essential for mapping out a hooded eye. So once we have our blueprint mapped out, and again, this is just for my everyday eyeshadow. I don't always do it like this. We're coming in with a classic. This is the fluffy crease brush, blending brush, whatever you've heard it called is what it is. I like to take this into a transition shade. My transition shade is usually the same shade that I use to pack all over my lid because the transition is to help things blend. So if that shade is already there, some people put a transition shade before the crease work and line work and all that stuff. That's totally cool too. I don't. That's makeup for you. Do whatever you want. I don't like to come in like this. You know what I mean? I like to come in with the brush up like this. So I can kind of shade. Think about a pencil. You know what? Let's do a demonstration. I love my demonstrations. If you don't know how to blend with eyeshadow brushes, think about using a pencil. When you're coming straight in with a pencil, you can make a sharp and precise line like that. When you're coming in with the pencil straight up and down, you can shade like this. You see the difference? If I'm going in straight on, that's what it looks like. If I'm going in flat, that's what it looks like. Kind of. This pencil's not very good, okay? But just a little visual for you, for all my visual learners out there. So, if I come in with the brush like this, it's going to deposit more product. You know what I mean? If I come in like this, when I'm speaking in the vein of blending, I can very lightly start to shade. And I like to take this brush in back and forth motions. If you've been in the beauty community on YouTube, if you heard it once, you heard it a million times. Windshield wiper motions. Who came up with that? Love it. And you can start to blend and shade. Sometimes you want more precise lines. That's when you go straight in. When you want to shade, when you want to blend, boom, boom, boom. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know I always say A, B, B. Always be blending. Did I do that right? Always be blending. Always be blending. Blending your eyeshadow is going to take your look from amateur to professional like that. When you think you haven't blended enough, go back and blend one more time. You can go like this, back and forth. I like to kind of take it like this in a more squiggly motion. Like, and then I go up there because I like to lift and snatch. The more you blend up, the more lifted your eye is going to look. And there's the difference between the two eyeshadows. This isn't bad, but this just looks so much more. All right, let's get into how to hold a brush. If you want to deposit more product, hold your brush very close, like this. If you want to deposit more product, you want the color to be more intense. If you are looking to lightly blend, hold your brush at the end. Try just experimenting. So this is how you get better at makeup. You experiment, you try different things. Try holding it at the very end. No, you're not going to hold it like this in real life, but it's good to just see. You have much less control, but the brush is much lighter on the eye. Now, if you hold it, now let's just do it. Humor me here. Hold it right up at the top. You have a lot more control, but you can tell the color is going to be more dense and packed. I think right here, not even halfway, but maybe a third of the way down is the best way to hold it. Cute. Sometimes I even go back in with the cat paw brush and I just kind of, what I'm doing is like jabbing, but I'm never picking up the brush fully. So I'm just kind of like, and that's a good way to just kind of bring everything together. My next essential are pencil brushes. Sephora brushes I do like. I think they're a little bit pricey when you can get the same thing for not as much money. Delium tools, they came in my makeup kit that I got at makeup school. A lot of makeup artists swear by these. How I like to use a pencil brush is in the definer shade. I'm going to get a little bit of this maroon in here just to warm it up a little bit. One way I like to use a pencil brush is for under the eye. It really gets in there. Something like this under the eye, way too big. Something like this under the eye, way too big. Really the only other brush I would use under the eye is an angled brush. But a pencil brush is a great way to deposit color under the eyes. Look up and run it under the eye. As you can see, it's the perfect amount of thickness for under the eye. It's not too far down, but it's not too close to the lash line. And then the good thing about a pencil brush is when you get to the corner of your eye, just keep the line going. Obviously, hooded lids, monolids, mature lids, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. You might want to move back to the angled brush. But if you are not one of those people, then you can just keep that line going. Now, the pencil idea is the same for a pencil brush. If you come in straight, you're going to get a very precise, sharp, opaque line. If you come in flat, you're going to get a nice shade, a nice shaded look, less opaque, thicker line. There you go. What I like to do is to come in straight. Now see, I want a more dense deposit, so I'm holding the brush. I'm choking the brush, and I'm going to redefine that crease line I made just a little bit. So I'm coming in straight, and I'm redefining the crease that I just blended. And then I'm going to hold my brush flat then, so I can then shade above that. And to shade, I am just gently swiping back and forth using the side of the brush flat. Just going back and forth, moving slowly, making my way up to diffuse that line. And then go back in with your transition brush. Blend ABB, baby. ABB, baby. Gorgeous. I also like to use a fluffy brush to flick. Sometimes flicking shadow is a good thing because it helps kind of wing it out. So I'll like flick, 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 flick. I'm going back in with my first brush to once again kind of marry everything together. Next on the list, we have a flat shader brush. This brush is great to pack on shadow. A lot of people use it on the lid space or a created lid space. So I'm gonna dip that into a highlighter shade, something like this. This brush is more dense, so I'm gonna use it to pack on shadow that I want to have a more dense effect. This brush is amazing to pack on a good amount of color in a controlled amount of space. You can also take that under the brow a little bit. So here I'm swiping it, but for the lid, I would just pack. Press up, press, 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 press. A use that is kind of specific to me, not necessarily a more general rule. I like to take this into my shimmer shades because shimmer, at least for me, because I really want an intense shimmer going on, I like to pack it. So I'm going to take my shimmer color. I think I'm going to use this pink today. Now to really ultra pack shimmer, I'm going to spray the brush with the shadow on it with some setting spray. Whoops. Okay. This is why I like synthetic brush hairs, because you can get them wet like that. Okay, and I'm just going to swipe that on. And it really deposits a good amount of shimmer and color. And getting the brush wet also... Why do I keep my mouth open? Like, I'm not learning. A good way to prevent fallout is by getting the brush wet as well, because a powder is not wet. It's not going to fall as much. Science, I don't know. I'm going to take a warmer shimmer color on the same brush, but I'm keeping the shadow on just the tip of the brush because I'm going to use that. I'm going to squint my eyes like this so I get some eye bags going. And I'm going to place that shimmer under the eye. Oh, I hate that color. Great. And I just run this along the lower lash line to deposit shimmer under my eye. You could use a pencil brush to do this, but I like to really pack the shadow on, so I'm going to use my flat brush. I don't even remember buying this brush set, but I have seriously... these have all my staple essentials. I'm going to try to find the link if they still have it. It's been a while, so who knows. A couple honorable mentions. A brush like this. I think this is an art brush. This brush is great for graphic liner. I love doing graphic liner with... Alright, it's just not going to focus, but I love doing graphic liner with a thin brush that is super long, because then you can really drag and get a straight line. It's nice. Moving on to eyeliner. I have a couple options. These are my 3 favorite eyeliner brushes. We have 2 different types of angled brushes. We have a wider angled brush, wide like this, not thick. Or we have a thinner angled brush, same thickness as the other one, but this part is thinner. For longer lines, I use the wider brush, like for my eyebrows, for longer precise lines, or if I'm doing a super thin liner like that, I'm going to use this brush so I can get a really thin, long line. A thinner angled brush like this is great for just a classic wing because it's really nice to fill in that space if you're doing a thicker liner. Whereas this brush might kind of catch and skip a little bit. When you draw your liner up like this and in like this, when you want to fill in that space, this brush is not my favorite. I'm going to go for a thinner angled brush. But if I'm doing a thin, long line, best believe I'm using this. Next, we have the Delium Tools 714. This has the same density as the angled brushes, but the top of it is flat. This is great for hooded eyes, mature eyes, or monolids because you can do a push liner where you can really get into that lash line and wiggle in some color. If you're looking for not a wing, but just a hint of eyeliner on your lash line, this brush is really great. I also love this for hooded eyes because, again, I can stamp this brush right over the lid, right over the crease, right over any skin. I can just stamp right over it to create a straight line. That's why I love this brush. This brush is also great for highlighting the nose, carving out brows. This brush is great for precise lines, but it doesn't have a good drag because it's straight. So if you try to drag it, it might catch on itself. Whereas an angled brush, the drag is much easier, much more seamless. It's not going to skip as bad. I'm going in with the Maybelline Studio Gel Liner. I'm going to place it where I want, stamp, drag. I stop there, and then if I really want a dramatic line, I take my pinky and drag it out. So this is for a very thin, long line. And there you go. Those are my essential eyeshadow brushes. If you are just starting your makeup journey or you just need a little pick-me-up lesson, I hope you really enjoyed and got some good info. I'm definitely going to do this for face brushes as well. Brushes are my thing. I love brushes. To me, it brings the art into makeup. I'd love it if you subscribed and followed me on my TikTok and Instagram. As I already said, I love you guys so much. My camera's gonna die, so I'm talking really fast. Okay, I love you so much. Bye!